what? We're pulling an Alfred? What's happening now? Like, I can fuck with that. They're not making what's his name? Oh my god, names of the characters.
What does the character look like?
What's the name of Virgil's dad again? I forgot his name. Robert.
I just remember.
Robert.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it just came to me. And like Robert's not gonna be one of those people who's like, I don't know what's going on with you, son. Type shit. Like they squash that shit immediately. He's like, you weren't in the field, you weren't 100%. What did you focus on your breathing, son? And you gotta.
I was about to say Jefferson was like, wait, wrong dad. wrong black dad.
Oh shit.
But no, yeah, like it's gonna be interesting to say the least, because the last static comic we ever had was New 52.
Yeah. And wasn't he like
That was
science nerd in that one?
I mean, he still is. He's always really, even in the show, he's been a science nerd.
But like he was some
like he expresses it more.
Yeah, he was doing some kind of research, like internship or something. Forgot.
Yeah, he was doing an internship, I believe, at Star Labs.
That's
because I know they had a crossover, not crossover, but I know they brought him in with like Tim Drake and stuff like that with the Teen Titans issue that was going on back then, and like he was the one who designed, what was that god awful speedster, Bartor or something like that.
Bartor.
Oh, we don't talk about the demon, the abomination.
Yeah,
I am Bartor.
I believe he was the one that came up with, I think a combination of him and Tim Drake were the ones that came up with his suit. So they really did touch on the genius, the smart aspects of his character.
There's something I want you guys to watch with me, because I was thinking about this last night, and I'm like, this would be an interesting discussion to have with everybody. It's about this guy, and I follow him on YouTube. His name is Professor Geek, and he's one of those older comic book heads. He was talking about how, like, Batman isn't Batman. First of all, before I even talk about that, shout out my dog Beta Ray Bill. If y'all not reading the Beta Ray Bill books, that shit is sad as fuck. I just started reading a little bit of that. I was like,
book.
Oh yeah, Beta Ray Bill has a book, and it's uncomfortable.
That's not Batman.
Yeah, he was like, "This isn't Batman."
Oh, I forgot. Hold on, I forgot you totally went on live. All right, well, pause it. What is he? Which Batman is he talking about here? He's talking about movies. He's talking about
Robert Pattinson.
He's talking about in general. Like I'm gonna.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna try to play a little bit of it and then give you like the cliff notes. But basically, he's saying we haven't gotten a proper Batman in live action, which is true. I'm not gonna deny what he says there. But then he goes on to say that like this new Batman is gonna be shit, and that like every subsequent Batman is kind of shit. And I'm like,
I mean, I'm not gonna say anything. Go ahead, continue. I guess we'll continue watching. See.
Yeah, let's.
Yeah.
To their keyboards as though they're the first people ever to issue this argument. You haven't even seen it yet. You can't say, how can you say that? You haven't seen, because I have logical discernment capabilities. I'm an educated intellectual adult. I'm sorry that you aren't. You're incapable of knowing what anything will truly be until you've experienced it fully. But if I see a brown pile with flies landing on it on the corner of the sidewalk, I don't need to taste it to know what it is and know that that's not going to be good. Stay away from it. But you haven't seen it yet. Silly, most rudimentary, asinine argument. So let's just dispel that right at the get-go first. It's a nonsense argument. It doesn't work. Although you'll still have people in the comments of this video because they don't even wait for the video. They just run right to that go-to comment. It's like, I'll shut you up about this movie that I think is going to be amazing, even though I haven't seen it yet, that kind of thing. So you'll see that. But getting past those silly sort of surface level arguments, when I saw the Batman trailer, when I watched it, I thought this. I wasn't even angry. I wasn't. I thought, yeah, makes sense. This is what a Batman movie should be right about now. Now, I don't mean should as in I want it to be, or it's good for mythology, or it's good for the character of Batman. No, not at all. Of course, it should, in that sense, be. We should finally be getting a live-action take on the iconic Batman, something that actually truly honors the character and doesn't just pander to the director's vision or all of the divided, Bat bros out there and that kind of thing. But what I meant by that was that it makes sense. It's exactly the kind of Batman movie I'd expect in today's climate. After the character, the icon, the archetype has been so misunderstood and so stubbornly, consistently mishandled by the copyright holders for so long. We're at a place now where there's no such thing in the public consciousness. Just your average person off the street, there's no such thing. And it pains me to say this, but there's no such thing as an iconic Batman anymore to your average person, the average public consciousness. Warner Brothers and DC Comics, even before Warner Brothers really got involved much, they've allowed so many misconstrued perceptions of the character.
It goes. There's a lot more, but essentially what he was saying is that he goes from talking about the Adam West stuff, but we disregard Adam West. Like everybody knows Adam West, that Batman was made as a goof. And then he says Batman 89 was good. Tim Burton's Batman was good. It was like visually it was good and some stuff were good. Like he doesn't agree with the killing stuff. And there's a whole there's a whole argument I have against his thing. And then
So wait, if he, which I mean, I find that's interesting. Is he saying that? So he's saying he enjoyed the Tim Burton movie, but he acknowledges the fact that it's not accurate.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Isn't that kind of contradictory of what he's trying to say, though?
No, if he said,
Hmm.
I was going to say yes at first, but since he says that he acknowledges the fact that it's not comic book accurate, you can still enjoy the film.
yeah.
Oh, like he's saying it's enjoyable, not necessarily like an accurate Batman.
Right. So it's just like you can
Okay.
say, if you were to say that, like if Gabe were to say there hasn't been a truly comic book accurate Spider-Man or a good comic book adaptation of the character live action, right? That doesn't mean he's not going to enjoy the movies that come out, but he knows that there hasn't been one that truly like scratches that itch.
Gotcha.
So you can still enjoy the movies, but it doesn't mean that that's your Spider-Man or
Right.
that's your Batman. So okay, he's still sticking. I thought he was contradicting himself for a second,
Same.
but go ahead, Ollie. What were you saying?
Let's see.
They've allowed so
Play a
many
little bit.
completely off the wall, totally
Hello?
Yeah.
incarnations of characters that bear that Batman name. Then of course, I mean, how can the character can't remain consistent
Hello?
in people's
Yeah,
We
I'm
hear
still
you.
here.
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. So basically he goes from saying he acknowledges that he said, oh, we lost Jermaine, I think.
I guess he couldn't hear us.
Oh. But yeah, he doesn't like the Nolan Batman. He hates Ben Affleck Batman, which is understandable. It's based off of Frank Miller, and I think Frank Miller is a terrible. Me and Cisco and I hate Frank Miller anyway. Like with a passion. Like his art whack, his writing whack, his shoes whack. Like Frank Miller is terrible. Like fuck Frank Miller.
Things just now. God damn it.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been nice to know. No, like I was talking and I just heard silence and I couldn't tell what was going on. So whatever conversation you guys just had, I completely missed it after I finished talking.
Oh no!
We
Like
didn't-
we had started the video, but you apparently couldn't hear us.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't hear anything. Are you still watching the stream? Is that still happening?
Yeah, we're still watching it.
Okay.
We just paused.
When
Sorry,
is the
sorry.
stream?
The video that he was talking about that Ollie was playing.
Oh,
it's just a pediment, his archetype anyway. not that you remove Batman and the world's going to heck. No, not that at all. But you've got the idea of we've lost something, and I'll tell you how and why. So, as I said, we've never had a live action iconic Batman on screen. And that's not a slight against the Adam West Batman 1966. I do love the Adam West 1966 Batman, but that was never intended to be the iconic Batman. That was always from the moment they decided that was supposed to be this sort of absurdist theater Americanized take on a comic book or whatever. And that's what they did. They had fun with it, and it was great fun to watch. People of that time, or like who caught the tail end of that time, depending on their age, they can have problems with Batman 66 because unfortunately it did shape how the culture looked at Batman for a time, and that was unfortunate. But it's not the 1966 show's fault by any means. Batman is that was great. That was a great show. It was a great incarnation of it, and it kept true to the characters, core, its values and whatnot. Even though it was a more sort of a fun, cartoony, absurdist kind of take on the universe. I'm just going to talk about movies for a second, and we'll go back and talk about comics. When we got Tim Burton's 1989 Batman, that was a glorious film. It really is, and I truly, absolutely love that film. It's the closest we've come to Batman live action as the iconic Batman, the real deal. But it did drop the ball in some very key places that it shouldn't have in terms of a Batman incarnation. It's a great movie, but in terms of a Batman incarnation, so that, you can't really call that the iconic Batman across the board. Batman Returns, the second one, was also a great film. I also love that film quite a bit, but it was a little darker, and it still had that same ball drop moments. You got Batman. In hindsight, you look at it, yeah, he actually did kill those people when he shouldn't have, and stuff like that. Batman Forever, when Joel Schumacher took the reins, isn't a horrible film. It's a fun movie. Certainly is fun to see that take on Robin and whatnot, but it became a little too cartoony, with the Two-Face and Riddler and whatnot. Went a little too far in that direction, and then we shan't even speak of Batman and Robin, the fourth movie. So that's of course, that killed the character. If you look at that pattern just right there, just under those original four movies, you see the pattern right there that people either go too dark with the character or too far too light with the character, and either one of those misses the mark. And of course, it was a long time before we would see Batman on the big screen again in live action, certainly. And then came Chris Nolan's films. And Chris Nolan, he knew that. He was very careful with Batman Begins. Batman Begins, I remember seeing it and liking it quite a bit. It had a couple issues with it that I didn't like. I really hated that stupid ending. I don't have to kill you, but I don't have to save you. No, you're a hero. Newsflash, you do have to save him. If you want to be a hero, you've got to save people in peril, even the bad guys. Get over it. That's what heroes do. That was a really stupid ending. And that was...
So, all right.
I wouldn't, but I get what you mean.
I'm gonna give you the Cliff Notes because this is a pretty long video. So essentially, his era of Batman in his head is, which is a great run, by the way. The around the 70s. Like the Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams run, which is a great run of Batman. But the problem I have is you're saying Batman's wouldn't kill type stuff. Okay, Batman wouldn't outright kill, but he doesn't like the idea, the line of, I don't have to kill you, but I don't have to save you. He hates that. Which is bro, are we talking about the same Batman that's been alive for 80, 70-something years? But also, shit, we can look at the last 20 years of comics. This motherfucker's crazy. Grant Morrison's Batman beat this shit out of you. Tom King's Batman beats the shit out of you. Who else? Scott Snyder's Batman will definitely give you the Tom King's fucked up thing is, except when he beat the shit out of Bane, that shit, and KG Beast, that shit was nice. He left KG Beast in a cellar to rot. But yeah, he basically goes on to be like, oh, he's a hero, he doesn't kill. Listen, superheroes, and not even all superheroes, not all superheroes are Superman. And I think that's the problem he has. He's drafting an idea of the archetypical superhero, which is Superman, and then he's trying to apply that moral code on everybody. If we're talking about heroes in general and mythology, most of them come from Greek, and you got some other religions too. But for example, Wonder Woman, she's Greek. She's based off of Greek mythology. You know what they do? Kill people. That's what I'm saying. And Batman, the only one superheroes I expect not to do that are Spider-Man, Flash, Superman, people with a definitive moral compass. But Batman will break your bones in your body. He won't kill you, but he'll break
He'll get you real close though.
Exactly. And then to be and for him to be like, oh, Batman never does that. Like, dude, even in the 70s, Batman was breaking bones in people's body. I don't know. I don't like why are we like. It's not grim dark like Frank Miller, because Frank Miller, he was a borderline a serial killer. Like that guy, he didn't kill people outright, but like, it's too much. But Batman definitely will break bones, and Batman's not a hero. He's a vigilante. There's a distinct difference. Vigilantes operate outside of the law. Superheroes, not to say they don't either, but like they have more of a like. And Batman has a code. Obviously, he doesn't kill. He doesn't. That's pretty much it. Actually,
But couldn't you say for like most superheroes, like they just not necessarily operate outside of the law, which some of them actually do, but they kind of handle some of the things that normal policemen and normal officers wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, they did.
Kind of like if you take Spider-Man, for example, like, yeah, I'm going to take it back to Sam Raimi. Like, yeah, most of those firefighters were not going to go back into that burning building just because they heard a woman screaming in there. They were like, look, we got as many people we could. We're done. And if I'm not mistaken, there was a black firefighter that literally told Spider-Man, hey, look, you can go in there if you want to, but I'm going to be right here.
No, I think that scene specifically, it was an officer who showed
Like,
up to
a police officer?
Yeah. Then
Oh,
they heard,
yeah.
Then they heard the scream, and Spider-Man was like, "I'm going." And then the officer was like, "I'll be here when you get back." He's like, "I'm not coming back."
Yeah, I'm not coming back.
And he's like, "Just fucking go."
But I personally,
All of you lost you.
Yeah, I thought it was my headphones. That's why I didn't say nothing. Ollie?
give me a
Are
second.
you there? Oh, there he is.
Hello.
So how's everybody day going?
That's all right.
Good.
Better now. Free time.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm
about
technically
that.
still on duty, since I said fuck it.
It'd be like that.
Is it
Sorry
what?
about that. Where were we?
Superheroes and something. I actually forgot
He
to.
was pointing out that Spider-Man is a vigilante, and like other heroes don't. Other heroes, what do you call it? May not necessarily work outside the law, but they'll handle things that like normal police or the army can't.
Right.
There we go.
And not every superhero needs to abide by the same code, or else we'd have just a bunch of copy and paste characters. And again, that's not to say that we need to live in a world of grim dark, but Batman is inherently gothic. So for you, like, think about it. This is a guy who spent most of his teenage years traveling the world, honing his body to become a machine, essentially. And you're telling me Batman, like, again, he won't kill you, but he'll do everything but. And
You also have like Spider-Man's a vigilante. You have Daredevil's a vigilante.
Yep. And these are people that
Same thing with Punisher.
Yeah, well,
Punisher is a fucking murderer.
Yeah, Punisher is different. He just that's a straight up. He's He's basically Dexter. All he does is
He's basically just an anti-hero.
serial killer that goes around killing villains. I mean, he's still a serial killer. He just
That's literally it.
yeah. All you're doing is killing.
There was a point he made. There was a point this guy made about there's no live action iconic Batman. I don't really necessarily agree with that, because whatever live action Batman is out is iconic to the audience who sees it the most. Like, I can guarantee you, most people, if you ask them about Batman, they'll probably refer to Tim Burton's Batman, depending on their age.
Mm.
Yeah, they'll
And
focus on Tim Burton or Christopher, or like whatever is popular at the time. They'll refer to that one.
So what I'm gonna do is
Yeah, that's true.
I'm gonna let
you can kind of argue that all live action Batman are iconic in their own way.
Because they kind of are.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like my dad grew up watching the '60s Batman. That's still like, yeah, he's not at all comic accurate, but he's still an icon.
True. All right. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this ride, and then we'll like break down what he's saying.
That was very Nolan-esque. It had Nolan's fingerprints all over it, and he would take that kind of treatment of the character and just really enhance that.
You slow it down.
Yeah. Sorry.
Get out! Get out!
More interested in making his Batman. And he was honest about that eventually. He came out and said, my Batman exists in a universe where no other superheroes exist. And his Batman is riddled with identity issues and all the things that are characteristic of a Nolan film. That's fine, but that's not the proper treatment of Batman on screen. So you come away with some decent films. I think Dark Knight Rises is a pretty awful movie, honestly, just objectively speaking, plot-wise and whatnot. But he was kind of done at that point anyway. He didn't care anymore. He was trying to get out of his contract with Warner Brothers and step beyond them because of political reasons. But even though you might have had a good movie or two, still not the iconic Batman. Well, then, of course, we know it didn't take long at all for the Batfleck. And so that brought us to the Batfleck, Zack Snyder, which was still Chris Nolan, executive producing. I don't know who in the world made this decision at Warner Brothers.
Probably not.
They just don't have any kind of... They make all of their decisions from a corporate standpoint, and they don't operate from storytelling. They don't operate from any kind of logical, what would make a good film, or even quite honestly, what would make a successful film. They just have these very removed by 10 degrees decision makers about this, and it's, hey, so-and-so made a good, Bryan Singer made a great X-Men movie. He'll do a great Superman movie. The two are not the same. Tim Burton did a great Batman movie. He'll do a great Superman movie because they put him on that for a while with Superman Lives, and that's... How does that logic follow? Chris Nolan did those great Batman movies. He'll do a great Superman movie. No, he won't. So they tried to get him, but he didn't want to do it. He eventually acquiesced to executive producing. Zack Snyder did a great Watchmen movie. People seem to like that. Let's get him to do Superman. Where is your train of thought here? That is the most... I can't even begin to defend that line of thinking. That is just so... And we got exactly the kind of movie that a Watchmen director for Superman. It was utterly absurd. The absolute wrong take on Superman whatsoever. There's no defending it. There is no defending it, but people still tried. The Snyder Bros still tried desperately, and they'll say, and this is what they say about Batman v Superman when it comes to Batman.
Yeah, what's up?
How can you say that's not
what's up, yo?
Comics? You look at that scene right there, or that pose right there. That's straight out of the comics. Well, first of all, just getting a pose or one concept or one strange.
You're watching something.
Oh.
That's not taking it. That's not taking out of the comics at all. That's just Snyder is a visual artist. He is an awful storyteller. He's a horrible storyteller. He doesn't know how to do it. He's a visual artist, and you have to really kind of appreciate his aesthetic.
Who's a horrible story?
The only movies that he's done that have worked.
He's talking about Zack Snyder.
Strong script or strong established story. So even though I'm not really a big fan of the Watchmen story, or even the Watchmen comic, I mean, I'm glad I read it, but it's not something I'll go back and read again. He did a very good adaptation of that material because the story was already so firmly written there. He did a horrible. Every other film that you look at where there wasn't a story there, he just doesn't know how to tell a story. So he does what he did with Batman v Superman. He went to the comics and cherry-picked all of these different looks or poses or perhaps themes at times.
Ali.
Yeah.
Was part of this and made them completely out of context. And,
can you see?
And it just didn't work. That's not the character. That's not even the character from those comics. Now, on the second level, he picked the worst comics, the most horrible comics to choose from. Just because something's in the comics does not mean that that's the iconic Batman or the iconic Superman. Some incredibly boneheaded ideas have been tried, have tried to be pulled off in the comics, and they're horrible. They're bad ideas. They're just pointing that something happened in the comic doesn't mean that's the iconic character. No, did that choice meet with the resounding applause of their readers? Did fans everywhere incorporate that occurrence or that look or whatever into their understanding of Batman? And I've had people talk and try to defend the Batman, or Ben Affleck's Batman, and say, "Oh, you just don't. That is straight out of the comics. It's straight out of Frank Miller's Batman comics." You're right. Here's a newsflash: Frank Miller's Batman comics are awful. That is not, in any way, shape, or form, the iconic Batman. And I'm talking about Dark Knight Returns here specifically. First, year one was actually quite good, but that's because he was playing by the rules at that point, still coloring within the line, so to speak. The Dark Knight Returns is awful as a Batman story. It only exists and has merit as an Elseworlds, and that's always what it was. Even though the Elseworlds title didn't quite come about until after it was never intended to be continuity. And they applied the Elseworlds title to it as soon as they created that. That's not continuity. And it was really, and you hear Frank Miller talk. Frank Miller is just, he's no one that needs to be an authority on Batman. He does not understand the character. In his typical crass way, he said, "Well, it took my Batman to give Batman his balls back," as he says. What an incredible spit in the face to Denny O'Neil, to Neil Adams, to Len Wein, to all of the amazing comic book writers.
Great artists, by the way. Great artists and
who
writers.
worked on the character through the like 70s, way before Dark Knight Returns ever came out. That's a ridiculous statement. And people who try to pretend that, oh, he saved Batman from the cheesiness. No, that's ridiculous. You don't know your history or your comics very well. Batman was amazing in the comics long before Miller ever came about and made him this dark, vengeful, murderous vigilante, whatever. But people will say, yeah, you're right. Ben Affleck does. He looks just like the suit looks just like the suit from Dark Knight Returns. The scenes, some of the themes, straight out of that comic book. Absolutely. And that's a horrible decision, horrible choice to make. That is not the iconic Batman. Awful decision, awful decision. Nobody with half a brain wanted to see Batman and Superman fight each other. That's just this ridiculous notion that you get
Or was he?
with these sort of nihilistic or anger-ridden, fanboys occasionally. Anybody who truly understands the characters knows that that's a silly notion. That's a completely silly notion. That shouldn't happen at all. But that came from Frank Miller too. He believed that there's no way these two would be friends, and he hated the character of Superman anyway. Still does, even though he tries to claim otherwise. But you can see it. You can see it in his treatments. Even his more recent one. So you have Batfleck there, who is the incarnation of the Frank Miller Batman. Not it. That's not the character either. So now you look back at all of our compiled incarnations here, and you've got the spectrum, the scale from incredibly cheesy, absurdist kind of theater to a little bit darker, but then we cross the line a little bit. And you got him outright killing and an outright character that's not even the Batman anymore in Zack Snyder's movies. He's the Punisher. He is the Punisher. Let's just be honest. He's the Punisher with a bat signal or the bat insignia on his chest. That's all he is. He's nothing to do Batman whatsoever anymore. So when I saw the trailer for The Batman, I saw Gotham City that looked like Chris Nolan's Gotham in Batman Begins. I didn't see anything really truly gothic or Gotham-like in that city. It looked very realistic. Now, maybe there's some things, in other shots or whatever I haven't seen, but that's part of it there. I saw the you can't get away from it. There's the diversity casting. You saw that, which is a wrong move for that, because you're telling the audience, no matter how amazing these actors rather could perform, right? No commentary on their performance whatsoever. I'm sure they're wonderful actors, but for Gordon or for Catwoman or anything like that, you're telling the audience right there that you are not that concerned, or you don't really care. You see the source material is something that you should be able to completely alter to your whim and to your artistic vision. That's what the director, that's his notion, that's his message to the audience right out of the gate with that kind of diversity casting. The Batsuit. This is what everybody tends to kind of start with and harp on, but the Batsuit is absurd. What is that awful Batsuit? It does not even remotely take a billionaire to make that suit, or that car for any reason. For that matter, as people have so well said, any cosplayer who has 10 minutes in an army surplus store can come out with a black can of spray paint and have that suit. It's ridiculous. It's utterly. It's that he looks silly. There was a scene in the trailer where he's kind of walking around a crime scene or something like that, and he looks like such a joke. It does. Give him a proper superhero suit. Give him a bat suit. Make it as the iconic bat suit should be. There was at the time rumors that maybe we'd actually get the blue, the blue and gray, and that would have been amazing. But they're so scared about it looking too comic booky that they go this absurd cliff jump into the realism where it just looks silly. I do love the idea of him taking the gun that shot his parents and weaving that into chest armor as it was done in the comics, because that's an incredibly poetic and wonderful line to say that, here, the gun that stole my heart when it robbed me of my parents will now protect my heart. That's a great concept of what he's done with his positive activism and choosing to go out and fight against the criminals in the underworld that took his parents from him. And we'll get to that in a second too, because that idea of, that's what he means by vengeance. We'll get to that idea in a second. So the suit is nonsense. The suit's ridiculous. The ears are they're passable length, but with the eyes, you can't see his eyes at all. there's a one scene where he has the cowl off and you see the black makeup around his eyes, which Keaton and Nolan and all the Batman performers have had to do because you can't see any flesh color, around the eye holes. But why does Pattinson even need to have the black eyeliner or eye makeup on? You can't see his eyes through the suit. That dehumanizes him. That makes him look like more like a bug than a bat, quite frankly. Where's the man there? It's Batman. He shouldn't look like a monster. He should have this sort of supernatural, he should evoke the supernatural to criminals, certainly. But if you want to see how to do that, just look at that opening reveal scene in Batman '89. That was wonderful, where he came in and Tim Burton really embraced the Gothic, and he's holding up the cape like Dracula and stuff like that. That was wonderful, and terrifying the criminals there. But the suit's just awful. The bug eyes, no. The car is ridiculous. The car is, as many people have said, is just a souped up, you could go into any trailer park in the country and find somebody who's poured a lot into their car, and then boom, maybe the capabilities in the movie or something. Who cares? Who really cares? It's silly. That's nothing that a billionaire who's dedicated his life since the murder of his parents to learning all he can, to shaping his mind and body, would come up with his resources. That's a little bit together. Vengeance does not mean they're not going to get that life anymore. They don't get to feel at home in Gotham City. Took that life from me. So I'm going to take their life from them, not literally, not killing them, but their life of crime. Their sense that they're safe to do this kind of behavior in Gotham City.
I don't know. He kind of just did.
So completely at home.
Yeah, that's
I guess
where have you been?
Where the fuck were you?
Yeah, where were you?
Wait, was I not there?
Drain asked me pause like 10 minutes ago.
For real?
Yeah. Pause it.
I've been sitting here watching the video. I thought you guys were just quiet. I thought you guys were quiet because you were watching. I didn't know.
No, we called out to you multiple times.
Oh shit, that's funny.
Because I wanted to harken back to what he was saying about Zack Snyder, and I was saying I agree 100% that Zack Snyder. Well, there's two things that I agree with that he was saying. One, just because someone does a pretty good job at one superhero movie does not mean they do a good job at the other.
Mm.
And two, Zack Snyder is not a good director.
Agreed. Can you guys still hear me?
The Snyder Cut got released. Have you guys watched even like the first half of the Snyder Cut? Besides, I know you watched it, but have you watched it? So
yeah, I have.
There was one, but I never finished it. I got like 2 hours in. I got bored afterwards. But there was a part in the beginning, when it came to when Batman was going for Aquaman, and Aquaman finally goes in the water. He swims off, and there's these ladies who are singing or chanting about something. And in the back of my head, I'm just like, this is a waste of minutes. Because it's not a funeral, it's not a wake, it's not some kind of ceremony. These ladies just start singing out of nowhere. You have no idea what the hell they're saying. So it's just like, why is this here? So he has good set pieces and good like moments here and there, but as a whole roundabout director, he's not the best pick.
No, and all his movies are depressing, even the fun ones.
Yeah. I mean that's say what you will about that part. I mean, if that's what you're into, that's what you're into. But I mean, yeah, no, I agree. But I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, it's highly unnecessary. So like, it is what it is. When he was talking about the Batman, I was thinking to myself, he mentioned something about the eyeliner, and I was saying like that's not exactly a valid argument. That's more of a nitpick if anything.
Yeah, I agree.
That was a nitpick.
I agree.
He was talking about how in I think it was at Batman like '89, how like to show fear he like moved his cape like he was Dracula. I'm just like, well, that type of stuff would probably come off corny at this day and age.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, like certain things that passed then would not exactly pass now. So if I saw a nigga in a bat suit holding his cape like he's Dracula, I wouldn't take him seriously. especially if I find out he has no superpowers whatsoever, I wouldn't take him seriously. So it's just like, and of course, this is all in the realm of like Batman per se, but the things that struck fear then would have to be wouldn't be the same now. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys? He has some points, but then there's other points where he's very nitpicky what he's trying to say.
Yeah, the whole eye thing, that was just kind of a waste of time in the video. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I can clearly see his eyes.
Yeah, I feel like I can see his eyes.
I feel as though in every Batman movie I've ever watched, aside from like times where obviously they're obscuring eyes, or something like with the Ben
deep
Affleck
shadow.
Batman, where he had the goggles on, like they're purposely trying to like not show his eyes, stuff like that. I like, aside from those little moments, I feel as though with every Batman I've ever seen, I have been clearly able to see his eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only times you don't really see his eyes is if it's pitch black. Not pitch black, but if the lighting, which they usually do intentionally, the lighting is lit from the top, and the way people's eyes work and how his helmet works is going to cast a shadow onto his eyes. You're not really going to see his eyes.
Right.
But that's not specific predicament. But in others, this light right into your face. What are you going to do then?
Yeah.
So, and on top of that, the whole skin tone thing doesn't really make any sense because his whole face is exposed.
His whole fucking skin
Yeah. His whole
right. So it's just like, what do you?
his whole lower jaw is like just out there.
Yeah, like you don't have to question: is he black? Is he Asian? Is he Hispanic? Like. I'm pretty sure you could rule out a couple of ethnicities just looking at his chin.
He was talking about like when he was
That is
talking
a
about
white
race. When he was talking about like ethnic casting, he was talking about like Gordon.
Okay, that's what it was. That's what it was.
Yeah.
The diverse casting.
I feel like that's kind of stupid because, for one thing, I think it's Gordon in one of the movies. I don't know which one it was. I think it was Ben Affleck's. Gordon is black, but
no. That was whatchamacallit?
That's the new one coming.
J.K.
No,
Simmons.
and that's J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
Jameson.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
So
no,
he in that and in the Justice League he's accurate to that state, but
I think DK, you're talking about the new Batman, Jeffrey Wright. You're talking about Jeffrey Wright.
I think so. There's one of
Yeah.
the Batman movies. He's black or something.
that's
Yeah.
the only Batman movie where he's black, and that's the upcoming one. And I was
Okay.
trying to say I agree with what he was saying because I was watching Young Ripper. He had a video talking about like diverse casting, how it's a bunch of bullshit. And it was a video talking about, why wouldn't comic book fans expect like a bit of comic book accuracy in what they're seeing?
Hmm.
And it makes sense because as comic book readers, or even those who are trying to go into comic, it really doesn't make any sense to race swap a character. Like I remember when I first watched Invincible and they had Amber. I mean, despite the fact that we hate Amber, she was originally white and blonde hair in the comic.
Yep.
So it's just like, what was the point of changing that? Like, what purpose did it serve? And the answer is, it doesn't. Besides this grand idea of diversity.
Well,
Hmm.
Mark is white in the comics. So is Debbie. They're not Asian.
Really?
Yeah, they're not Asian. They're white. They're like nowhere in the story are they ever referred to as Asian. They're white.
It's funny because even in the comics, Debbie could pass off as an Asian person. I think it's mostly the eyes that are drawn different. That's what sets it apart.
Yeah, and that's more of an art style thing, and the art style changes.
Yeah, it's more of an art style thing. Yeah, that's one of those series that it when you first begin, it's just like woof.
Yeah,
but
Ryan Oatley his art in the beginning is
Yeah, but towards the end, he got a lot better.
18 years worth of evolution, so you better get better.
But like I was saying, you better get better. But yeah, when it comes to the casting of Gordon, I feel like that was like why there was no point of doing that. Regardless of the actor himself, I'm sure the actor is fine at what he does, but
Great actor, by the way, Jeffrey Wright.
but it's just and that's no discredit to himself. But you have to ask yourself, like, what was the purpose going through your head on why I feel like this iconic character? It's not like Jim Gordon's some random character. He's a very iconic character in the Batman mythos. You know, that's Batman's. It's almost like Robin per se. Just the fact that he's an adult. That's how long he's just been there.
Yeah.
So why would you go ahead and take this character who everyone and their mom knows that he's white and make him black?
You know,
The same thing with Catwoman. Like, what was the point of making? And of course, no discredit to the actress. She's incredibly beautiful. I'm sure she can play a very attractive female, like kind of villainous or like a burglar. But why does it have to be Catwoman? When we know he's white.
Something about this, like what he was saying, and then some other videos I was watching, and it really made me think, because he made another video about He-Man, and why he's saying, oh, He-Man and the fantasy genre, it's based off of medieval Europe, which again, that's true to an extent, but when you start adding goblins and dragons and magic on top of the fact that Eternia is a planet on another planet far away, there's nothing to tell you to be like, there's nothing stopping you to going like, yeah, other races can exist on Eternia. First of all, having black characters in He-Man is not even something new. Like Clamptrap, there's a character in He-Man. He's part of the Masters. I can't even say his fucking name. Let me see if I can pull this guy up.
Clamptrap or something.
Clamptrap or it's the 80s, dude. Like everything's fucking.
It sounds like a sex toy.
Make sure you type He-Man afterwards.
You might want to.
You might want to dust that off.
Clamptrap.
Clamptrap. There you go.
That's a fucking twister if I've ever heard one.
Yeah. So it's like it's not.
No, that sounds like that's a porn star name. I'm sorry.
Holy shit! These things are not new to the mythology. It's just like, why can't who's to say we can't have these things? Like, for example, like Krypton, right? There is not like the idea of people going, Black Superman. Okay, Black Superman's stupid. I made a video about that. I think it's stupid. But Black Kryptonians, it's not out of the realm of possibility, because, again, when these characters were made, they were made back in the 30s. Guess what was illegal? Guess what group of people were considered less than back in the 30s? Obviously, they're not going to have black characters and minorities be, like, prevalent. Like, there's a fine line between people going diversity, and then it's just like, okay, what if the default person is not white, male, and straight? I always hear people go, well, it's another diversity casting. Like, other people in the world exist.
Here's the thing about the diversity thing is their version of diversity. And here's the thing, that diversity in itself is not wrong. It's the fact that they're hijacked. That's the problem. It's the fact that they're going, okay, let's take this classically white character, or any character for that matter, who's incredibly famous, and we're going to race swap them. Not, oh, you want diversity? Let's create a brand new character for this mythos. It's no, we're going to take the character that's already existing, because we are too lazy to come up with our own shit. and we're gonna change their race, their gender, their belief system, their sexual what's it called,
Orientation.
orientation. Like we're gonna change all that stuff in the name of diversity. That's what they're doing. That's why diversity in itself has such a bad. What you're saying, Oliver, we're saying the same thing basically.
Mhm.
You know, it's not wrong. Diversity and stuff is not wrong. But if you're gonna just take these characters who already who went through
Exists.
who already exist, who paid their dues, right? They came in, they were hated or liked at the beginning, and they had to go through their heights, their lows, and they had to defy the odds to make themselves a very iconic character. How many Green Lanterns are there in the universe? And how
That's
many of them really stick out to you?
That's where I was about to get you on that one, bro. You know how Ripper hates? Oh, it's a mantle. It's a mantle. It's a mantle. All right, buddy. How the fuck can you say that when we have Flash and Green Lantern, and Nova? Like, you can't. What constitutes
But
as
those
okay?
in,
But-
those in their own right, that one. Oh, and I see what you're going with that.
Mm,
But when you always hit the Green Lantern, you always hear the Green Lantern Corps.
mhm.
So
Okay,
with
Flash.
that one in itself, with Flash, that one can I never really heard him complain about that.
That's the thing, and unless we're talking about Wallace West or you have Jess.
I thought it was Walter.
Walter. I call him Walter
Whatever.
because it's fuck. I call him Walter because we're not about to have two people with the same exact name. Can't call him Wallace
Yeah.
Rudolph West. That doesn't even make sense. Not even his name. But anyway, the problem I have with the argument of the mantle and stuff like this is I don't like the idea of race swapping and all this other stuff. But then again, when we have characters like, for example, I love Wally. Obviously, that doesn't even have to be said. So why is that okay? He's okay with Jon Stewart, but let's say a Luke Fox, that's a no. But Terry McGinnis, I don't know how he feels about Terry. I've always said there's only
I don't know
one
anyone
person.
who hates Terry.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if Batman dies, it should immediately go to Terry McGinnis. But why are what's up with that? Like, what do you guys think about that?
I feel like okay, so when it comes to some people, when it comes to the Green Lantern Corps, you can't really say anything about diversity. Like there's a whole bunch of people in it. It's a very diverse group. But when you come to something like Captain America, for example, do you think that is a mantle, or do you think Captain America is Steve Rogers? Like
Personally,
you can't see. I get
Personally, I'm gonna say
Personally.
Steve is Captain America. That's always been a given with me. I don't think Sam, it diminishes the idea of Sam as his own individual person. But then people will flip that argument against me and be like, well, again, Ollie, most of your favorite characters are legacy characters. So what can you really say about that?
But either way, when it comes to so give me a legacy character besides Wally,
Blue Beetle.
because
For example,
Wally is self-explanatory.
For example, Jaime Reyes.
Okay, I'm pretty sure Ted Kord died, didn't he?
Yeah, and he's not even Ted Kord is not even the first Blue Beetle. That's Dan Garrett.
Right. So at the same point, that's fine, and also as well, Jaime had to go through his trial and tribulation to be able to get to where he's at.
Mhm.
I think the problem that Ripper has is the people who line skip. So, for example, you have the characters, Rhodey, for example,
Yeah.
War Machine.
Yeah.
I would pick War Machine over Riri any day.
Okay.
Why? Because not only was he there longer, which that's the main point. People like his character. But there's no reason why there has to be a Riri Williams show. There's no reason why Riri Williams should be taking over some kind of mantle or anything like that when you already have characters who exist. And on top of that, there doesn't really necessarily have to be an Iron Man. you can have like an Iron Man-esque role
Mhm.
where like you have like the billionaire or like the rich person who helps fund something, or in that case, but they should never be like Iron Man. So War Machine should never be Iron. He took over that one instance because Tony Stark was like down in the dirt, but he immediately picked up his War Machine mantle right after. The thing with Falcon is that like Falcon should just be Falcon. It should never be Captain America, and that's as cool as the Captain America, the Falcon and Winter Soldier show was.
Mhm.
It kind of just diminished the fact that we have this black character who we've known from. Well, for me, I've known him since the MCU, since the Winter Soldier,
Yeah.
and he's evolving and he's becoming his own character. He can have his own show and he can still be just Falcon. He can be in the forefront. He doesn't have to be Captain America to be seen as somebody. So it's one of those things where it's like if you require the mantle of a classically white character to be someone, or a classic character, I should say, because if there was a white version of Black Panther, the whole world would go up and
But you
Like,
see
in
see
Canada.
why? Oh, but here's the thing: when people like to do that with the Black Panther thing, the reason, and again, I don't agree with this sentiment, but I can understand this train of thought. We've had for over 80 years now, majority of superheroes are white. I can only think of 5 superheroes on my head that are Puerto Rican. So imagine every other race, like they'll get introduced, right? We'll introduce shit. There are teams right now that are composed of different races. Like Marvel has Atlas, and that's an all Asian team. And I don't really know if there's a black team, but I wouldn't want an all black team. That'd be weird. I mean, actually, no, that would be, yeah, that could work actually. That was basically Luke Cage's Avengers, the majority black, and then Spider Man. But no, I don't know. It's you have years and years and years of white characters, and I'm not saying this is an excuse for people to be like, okay, well now it's time to replace so and so. But I think it's time to retire certain characters. You know what I mean? How many
Retire.
times? Like, how many times can we tell the same story with the same people before it gets like old?
My-
Like,
that's the comic, but that's the problem. That's the comic book world, and that stems from what we were talking about before. How the comic book industry doesn't respect like linear story. Of course, you have your examples like Spawn. We have Invincible, and I'm sure there's a bunch of others from like Image Comics and like Dark Horse and stuff like that.
mhm.
But the tried and true like Marvel and DC, there's always a reboot here, a soft reboot there. Like there's never really, whenever they take a risk, they don't ever like let's say the amount of times they've killed off Peter Parker or Captain America, they will never stick to it because they're a popular character
Money.
and they make the money. But the problem with what were you gonna say again?
No, well, what I was gonna say is, if you're a character in Marvel or DC and you make money, you're not getting off the money train, baby. We keeping this going till the end of time.
Right, and that's the problem. You're gonna continue running that horse until the horse is gonna kill itself. Your fan base is gonna move on because like the reason why I stopped reading the Miles stuff because once you said clones, I'm just like we've been through this shit already.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how many times but it's a different take. It's still clones. Every Spider-Man has to have a clone thing going on. Like it's a trope that it becomes boring and stale after a while. I mean, you're creatively bankrupt. You're going to tell the same storyline with the same character. So it's going to run its course. And that's what I was saying before. Like I respect manga, for example, and I respect the linear stories of shows like Spawn and Invincible because they make decisions. Well, assuming the author doesn't backtrack, but they make decisions and then they stick with that decision. If they kill the character off like Jiraiya or Itachi, they're dead.
Dead.
There's no coming back. Maybe as like, and of course they did that thing with the reanimation, but that made sense, and it was temporary for Sasuke to get closure. So that made sense when they killed off. I can't really talk about it, but oh no, we'll talk about season 1. We'll talk about season 1. That's fine. When they killed off the Guardians of the Globe, they're dead.
Yeah, the only one that could come back was the Immortal, but it's in his fucking name.
It's in his name.
Exactly.
It makes sense why him of all people comes back.
And even then, like they had to go through some shit just to put him back together.
Right. So there's linear storytelling that any Joe Schmo can pick up. If I were to introduce someone like, so that begs the question for people who aren't comic book readers, right? Let's say DK or Gabe, anybody here. You're dating someone who isn't a comic book reader, but they watch the movie, and you want to try to introduce them to. Well, actually, for DK, you're on the different end because you are more of a manga reader. You're anime watcher. So it's easy. You can be like, oh, season 1, it ends at chapter, I don't know, 50 something. You can read it from here. I can't do that. We as comic book readers, we can't do that.
Right.
We can't say because you have the TV series, which is different. You have the TV movies, like the cartoon movies that are different. The live action adaptation is different, and the comics, they're all confusing. So where the hell do I start?
That's actually pretty funny because now that you mention it, you're right. No comic anything has like an script by script like adaptation. Like normally when it comes to manga to anime, like it's word by word with like filler, Right. But in terms of comics and like things, like whenever let's say like Spider-Man gets a cartoon, he never has like an actual plot that's like verbatim what was in the comic or anything like that. It's more like it'll be based off of the comic.
Right. And it's like a loosely based comic and stuff like that. And of course the argument can be made, well, if I already read it, why would I want to watch it? Because watching and reading are two different things. And two, when it comes to a show like here's some knowledge for you. Attack on Titan, right? This isn't spoiler, this is season 1.
Okay.
The Berserk Titan, when Eren went berserk in that form, that's an anime only thing. That never happened in the manga.
Yeah.
So that's literally the creator
again.
That's literally the creator going back and saying, "Hey, let's add something here." Because of course, the creator of the manga works with whichever company. A lot of times they have a good relationship, so they can go back and tweak certain things, tweak dialogue, take some things out they felt weren't necessary to help the pacing of the storyline go. And it will never be. Sometimes it won't even be a 1-for-1. There will be changes, and they'll either be good or bad. Fucking Gabe, you read the chapter for Demon Slayer where Zenitsu went against the Spider Demon, and you told me how like vastly different and how much better the anime was compared to the manga.
Yeah.
Like, come on, it's never going to be a 1-for-1. There's always going to be some kind of changes depending on the studio and the creator themselves. But at the end of the day, like, at least you can track what's going to happen. Like, me already finished Demon Slayer. I can tell you how many story arcs are going to be in the second season. Because I read it and I know what's going to happen. But because of the animation, how beautifully it's going to be animated, the score, the voice acting, like the music itself is top notch. They snapped in season 1 and in the movie. Like, animation, you ain't got to worry about that. Voice acting, unless we're talking about the dub, we don't talk about that. The sub is going to be amazing. So even if I already read the manga, I know for a fact the anime is going to take it to a whole new level. Because the Rengoku fight versus Akaza wasn't nearly as long as it was in the manga. As it was in the anime, sorry. Like they really stretched it and did and added a lot more. Like there wasn't. I don't think there was a second demon in that Rengoku fought on the train. It was just the first demon, and that was it.
Mhm.
And then afterwards, they went to sleep because of the lower moon one. So they have the Kid Blues of fluctuating and doing what they want. But I've gone on a long enough tangent. I'll let someone else take over.
No, you
Yeah, because I was fully listening and just like prepared for whatever. But I don't feel like you were saying anything wrong per se, you know. And I don't know. I just think there needs to be better consideration in terms of just a lot of the just a lot of things that they decide to do. One of the things I do think I wanted to hop on, if I can remember really quickly.
Mhm.
You were saying something, and I was like, "Ooh, I actually wanted to like talk about it, but I forgot." Yeah, it's whatever. I missed the chance.
Not necessarily. It might jog in memory. It'll probably come back.
Probably, I don't know.
So I
So,
remember you mentioned something about. Oh, go ahead, Ali. What were you saying?
what I was gonna go into is like, what in your mind gets a like, what is acceptable and what's not acceptable? If you get what I mean, like what's
For
cool,
what?
like who gets a pass in terms of being able to replace what? Like, are we only mad
Oh,
when it's
the mantle thing.
yeah?
Um, who gets a pass?
It's a pass for what?
The question
It's,
was like, who gets it when it comes to the mantle thing or a character replacing another character? Like, are there any exceptions in your eyes, or do you feel like it should just be that character tried and true?
Dick Grayson.
Dick Grayson.
mm,
Okay.
but he doesn't want to be Batman.
Yeah, but I wouldn't mind if he takes up
Just
the mantle. Like I'm fine with it. Yeah, he doesn't want to, but if he has to, I'm pretty sure he would.
So it treated like this. If it was let's say it was a linear story and Batman was getting older and stuff like that,
Oh yeah, okay.
then yeah, Dick Grayson would be, of course, age-wise, the one to pick up. But I feel like he's also the right person to pick up that role.
Hmm.
Not to mention the fact that um, he's a better team, not team worker. What is it called? He's
team
better at
player.
cooperating, team player compared to Batman. So his cooperation skills to be able to manage the Bat family and the Justice League would be a lot easier. Well, I wouldn't say easier. It would still be very complicated.
More
but
willing to like work with other people instead of
right.
just being standoffish and be like, fuck this.
Yeah. So I agree with that. It really does depend on, and I think that's something I wanted to talk about before to answer your question, Ollie, was that if you want to have a linear story and if you want someone to get the mantle, let's say if it was a mantle, right? Or if you want to make your own character, whatever, you have to make sure that you're writing up all the characters.
Hmm.
So, for example, Dragon Ball is a linear story. However, they keep backtracking. And they keep doing that same thing where Goku dies, but they keep coming back. If Goku were to stay dead, I would love if Gohan was the main character. Because he has.
Bro, if Gohan saved the fucking day instead of Goku with the spirit bomb, granted that was a dope moment, but I feel like Gohan should have done it.
Right. So it's just like exactly. And why is that? Not because he's his son. It's because he has great writing. We've seen Gohan grow and experience different things when he was a kid. He was the main forefront of the Saiyan saga, the Cell saga, and the Frieza saga.
Yeah, and
How
not to
much
mention Gohan was around like Gohan was not 10 years old doing any of that shit just yet. When Vegeta and Nappa popped up, that nigga was like 6.
Right, he was already ready to square up with people. Like, you're watching this character grow. There's no reason why he got put on the back front, on the back end of it.
Right.
So it really just depends. And you asked the question, Ali, about which characters take the mantle. Wally West just at that point, Wally West is Dick Grayson of the Batman of the Flash family. He's been there long enough, and he more than deserved the mantle. Now, of course, Dick Grayson doesn't necessarily want the mantle, but in terms of who's deserving, who earns it, to say the least, it's those two characters. Because they've paid their due. They've done the hard work to get to where it needs to go. That's why Rebirth is such a huge thing, because when Wally West came back, everyone was just like, oh shit, like it's not Walter West, it's Wally West. That the OG. The character that everyone grew up on watching the Justice League Unlimited show.
Wallace Rudolph West, my boy. And then they came up and they just fucked up his storyline.
Right. They completely, like, I'm not even gonna talk about that stupid storyline. He went back in time and rocked and messed up his heart, Damian Wayne, all that dumb shit. Come on, man. And somehow Deathstroke has a speed force, and somehow he's fast enough to. Yeah, whatever. Cool concept, but it didn't go the way they thought it was gonna go.
Terrible fucking decisions were made.
That was horrible decision. And then the only thing we started with Heroes in Crisis.
Yeah.
Heroes in Crisis doesn't make any sense.
That story to go that way. I thought it was just gonna be like an interesting deep dive into like characters like psyche and their emotions about the fit.
Right.
Not whatever the fuck that was.
As it should.
Yeah, I don't know. And what you were saying, Gabe, is 100% true. Like, you get to talk about the inner workings of like superheroes' minds, like their regrets. Like, you could talk about how a superhero regretted being a superhero instead of choosing to live his life casually and start a family. Like, you can literally get into the psyche of what makes a superhero and what breaks a superhero. And they chose to do something completely different than that.
What do you call it? I think two characters that I would give a pass on for taking the mantle.
Mm-hmm.
Both Miles and Miguel O'Hara. Because, like, say the Spider-Man story is a linear story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say either Peter dies or he just doesn't want to do it anymore, and there you go. You have Miles, and then when Miles' time is up, you got Miguel.
To add on that, I kind of do agree with you because what's it called? Miles didn't want his powers at first, if I'm not mistaken, because I did not read that comic book, but I like heard from the comic story and shit like that. Well, if I'm not mistaken, he did not want his powers, but then he saw like Spider-Man practically died, and he was like, "Bro, I feel kind of guilty because I got the same power set. I could have been out there throwing hands with him, and he's probably still would have been here." So he kind of took it out of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and honestly, I don't know. That's as much as I'm thinking for Miles, at least. I don't really know much about Miguel, so I can't really read there. I really can't say anything. But that's what I can say for the most part for Miles.
I agree though. That Miles and Miguel should be the next two to take it up. I feel like it just logically makes sense on who would take that up next. Let me ask you a question. How do you feel about the clone? How do you feel about how you feel like Ben?
Don't make them Spider-Man. Just make them their own spider characters elsewhere. Like when Kane got his own book, he was just Scarlet Spider. Yeah, he took up Ben's mantle, but he was being Scarlet Spider somewhere else. I think it was like in Texas. while Peter Parker's doing his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just make your own character out of it. You don't have to be Spider-Man specifically. Like, you can just be another Spider-like character.
I
Just
get you.
make him his own character somewhere else.
No, I get that. And I feel like if it was a linear story, you know how crazy that would be? It would be a linear story that starts off with the story of Peter Parker and transitions into Miguel.
They have
That'd be so sick.
That's a book. Well, not the Miguel part, but Gabe knows what I'm talking about. The one where you see his what it's called, Spider-Man, where he ages by decade.
Oh, life story?
Life story. There you go.
Miguel's not in that.
No,
No,
that's why I
he said besides that.
yeah, beside like excluding Miguel. Miles is in that story. Like you see his life from start to finish. They even do the Clone Saga. They do it better. than they
Pretty
actually
sure
do.
that's life.
Yeah, that's life story. Life story. But
And that's perfectly fine. But you can have it literally where it starts off with Peter transitions into Miles, and then of course I don't know how far you would go in the future, but eventually down the line you end up with Miguel. And then but the thing is, somewhere you have to just end it. That's the thing. That's the main thing. We always talk about continuing, but you have to pick a point where you just end it. Like the character story ends, but the whole entire Spider-Man mythos thing kind of just ends.
right.
Because there will always be that's the thing about endings, is that people don't want things to end, but that's what makes it stick in your memory bank. The fact that it had a very good ending, and you can always go back and reread and rewatch something just because it was that damn good. Like didn't you just get the omnibus for Invincible?
Yes, sir. Volume 2.
How old is that story?
That is 18 years old.
Right. And it still holds up.
Yes,
Because
it
it's a
is.
linear story, and it's a great one at that. So it doesn't make any sense to have something continue and continue and continue. At some point,
It's why I like indie
at
books.
some point, I hope. Yeah, at some point, I really do hope that Marvel and DC decide, you know what, we're gonna have a linear story for characters. Even though I highly doubt that would ever happen, I have no idea. With the route they're going, with all this diversity and shit like that, they're pandering to people who don't even read comics. So
I think a lot of the issue is that there is a lack of originality, like how you say some things have to end. And even for some characters, you can't just keep passing on the mantle sometimes. I think a lot of it is, especially after that one time you guys were showing me some of the new heroes that they were making.
Oh god, the new Warriors.
They are afraid to make new heroes because they know it's going to be ass. So
Right.
they decide to just keep redoing the old shit that we already know and just keep going from there.
Right,
But the thing is,
I'm sorry, that was my fault.
well, I was gonna say you can only go but so far. Dragon Ball now, everybody can see Dragon Ball is kind of stuttering, and it's a good thing that it's done right now. Don't get me wrong. Even as somebody who wants to watch more of it, it's a good thing that it finished. One of the best things that came out of Dragon Ball was literally the worst part of the series, which was GT. And what was that? It's ending. GT has the best.
Yes.
Because
That probably has the most emotional ending I've ever had.
Yes, it's a long ass journey that we've seen. We ever since Goku had a fucking tail when he was 12, we've seen him go through trials and tribulations and shit. We've seen this nigga actually have fights in space and whatever, but it ended. It was done. It was good. The thing is like even Dragon Ball is having the issue where it's just like, oh well, it's printing money, so let's just keep making more. And not to say that there's anything wrong with that, as long as something good behind it is being done. Like they're not doing what's going on with Super, and they just keep pandering to bullshit, pretty much. Like
Fan service.
You know what's
Goku
funny about
Black.
that?
Huh?
You know what's funny about that is that manga creators. Now, I want to. Oh, no, not even people who write their own, that have their own stories, right? Who create their own world.
Mm.
They have so much power. Like literally, the Invincible series does not have to end because they can literally write a story of Mark. Let's say which happens. Let's say Mark's story's finished, right?
Mhm.
They can literally go back and pick on and introduce new characters in the story to do different things with because they already have a world that they established.
Yes.
Now they may not have to interact with the characters that we originally know because that makes it what's it called?
Makes it redundant.
Not redundant. It's kind of like if you introduce a new character and all of a sudden they were horned in. Like it canonically doesn't make sense because just like where was that character in the original
you
story?
mean
Right?
like retroactively?
Retcon, like retconning and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have them interact with the existing storyline, but you can have it that is still in the same world.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you can never I still think to this day My Hero Academia can never run out of ideas because you can have such a vast majority of different characters to just introduce, and it has nothing to do with the main storyline.
Them and look at One Piece. One Piece has an army of
There's an
side.
army of side characters. So many side characters.
Like there's so many things where and don't get me wrong, most of the story is already fleshed out. Obviously there's still things to figure out. But let's say One Piece finishes tomorrow for whatever reason. It's just done. But even if it finishes, you can have a spin-off where it's just what happens to this character? How did this character get to where they are now? Stuff like that. They can do that, and based off of the characters that they have, it's they can literally keep going if they wanted to. Dragon Ball has that too. Dragon Ball literally has that too. If they literally were to take the spotlight off of Goku and Vegeta for 5 damn seconds, they could literally have a whole. I'm about to get into a tangent because there is a point where I want to talk about. But they can literally have specials and movies about Goku and Vegeta are having their life or death battle somewhere else, or they're just training with Beerus or whatever. But here's the Earth about to explode again, and you have let's pick Gohan back up. Gohan has to save everything, and everybody's like, Gohan, call your dad, and he's like, no, I don't want to call him because my dad's not gonna be here forever, so I got it right now. They could do something like that. It doesn't even have to be with Gohan. It could be with Gohan, Piccolo, anybody. They have an entourage as well. There's way too many characters to have, and just to not really do much with them and just be like, oh, I can't beat you, but I'm gonna wait until my dad come and beat your ass. That's how we do this.
Wait till my dad.
Just wait till my dad get here, But what I was gonna say in terms of Dragon Ball, because it kind of triggered me, I really miss back in the day. Obviously, I wasn't around, but when I was discovering YouTube and watching everything of Dragon Ball through YouTube, I really missed the era where they were having specials, like the Bardock and Trunk special. Are so amazing to me. These are the pieces of Dragon Ball where no matter how old I am, no matter how many times I've watched it, I can go back and watch it and feel something.
Mhm.
Right.
Like Gohan dying to the androids or Bardock sacrificing himself to Frieza. Like
Even though they
these
retconned
are
that
very
part too.
yes, and I hate it. I hate it. But
Fortunately.
these are very strong things that they could elaborate more on. Like kind of Dragon Ball kind of did this with Trunks. Like they explained what he was doing, for the years that we haven't seen him. He actually had to take care of Majin Buu before Buu got out. He had to scrap up with Deborah and Babidi.
Mhm.
They could elaborate more on things like that, or tell us more about future Gohan. Like we get it, it's Gohan, but let's see his first time turning into a Super Saiyan. Like maybe he was wandering across the battlefield, see Piccolo's dead body, and is like, nah, I'm pissed. Like like we could get more stuff like that and just more content if you were to actually take a couple of seconds to really think about the world that you've already made. Yes, we're always going to enjoy Goku and Vegeta, but let's try to take a breather from that in order to really, what's the word?
Expand.
Expand and just like enjoy what we have. When someone, okay, let's say you have your favorite food, right?
Mhm.
Whatever that may be, and someone tries to give it to you every fucking day, is that still going to be
Yeah.
your favorite food?
No.
No, after I take like a good 2 month break, probably. But like, I'm
Yeah,
need a break.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like for at least for Dragon Ball's sake,
No, I 100% agree with that.
yeah, you can just take a break from Goku and Vegeta. Let's dive into something else. Expand more lore, figure out more about the characters, what they're doing, or just see where their strengths are at, and
Mhm.
just elaborate more on the story as a whole.
You know who else can do that too?
Ooh.
Huh?
Not because it has the same problem, but they have a plethora of characters that are just interesting. Demon Slayer.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
even like you did
It's
you
weird.
what'd you say?
I was gonna say Demon Slayer is weird because you do have some very interesting characters that you run into. I'm mostly speaking about the demons, surprisingly, and you kind of just meet them. They're kind of cool, and Tundra makes them cry before he fucking kills them.
It's just, like, they go through a bunch of shit, but like whoever dies, like of there are certain demons more than others that who get like a better, because not every backstory is gonna be interesting, and not every backstory you're really gonna truly care about. But there are some of those that really stand out, and they just hit different. And those are the ones where like their story's already wrapped up. But I want to focus more on like the Hashira. So you guys read the guidance I sent for Rengoku? Or you guys didn't get a chance to read that?
I didn't get a chance to read it.
Gabe, did you read it?
I don't think I had it. I still have it. I just haven't had a moment to.
Yeah, I have mine loaded up too. I just haven't gotten a chance to read it.
No, that's fine. It's okay. But it's just that point where like the characters was killed off early in the story, and there's still a bunch of like, I guess you could say, mystery around the characters. Like, how did he become a Hashira? How did he get into the Demon Slayer Corps? What was his life like before the events of the story? Like, you still have at least a season or half a season's worth of content that you can create just off of this one character.
Right.
And that's just one. That's not including, like we were saying before, the demons. That's not including the rest of the Hashira. That's you have content that you can create. But since they were so good at creating diverse characters, and like they were so focused on creating, like they were you had that luxury. So yeah, like it isn't stuff. It doesn't have the same problem that Dragon Ball has, but you still have the luxury of fleshing out more people if you choose to do so. And I agree. Like Trunks is definitely one of those characters who's just like interesting as hell. And you always wonder what the hell he's been up to from the last time you saw him.
Every time he pops up and he goes back to his own time, you're just like, bro, like, is he gonna be okay? Like,
Yeah.
and it's not even just the fact that like time travel or anything like that. It's like you genuinely wonder because honestly speaking, Trunks is probably one of the best Saiyans, or not even let me say that, but one of the best fighters in Dragon Ball. Not just speaking martial arts wise. I mean in terms of when it comes to facing a adversary or just a problem. Trunks is the only Saiyan that's just like, I don't care how strong you are, I am going to kill you. He's the only one to do that. Gohan gets sidetracked when he's too strong. Goku lets people do what they want. Vegeta begs them to do what they want.
Please, fuck me up.
Please get stronger, you know? So Trunks is the only person that's just like, I can beat you now. I am going to beat you now.
Yeah, so let me just get this shit done because I don't have time for all the bullshit. Like, I really don't want to see you get strong and I gotta come back 2 years later and no. We're not dragging this out any longer than it needs to.
Right. He's also the only Saiyan that's tried to stop a transformation. I say tried because he failed very badly.
Who was it against Cell?
It was Cell. Just as he absorbed 18, there was like this energy barrier or whatever, and you can see Cell in the middle, like powering up. And Trunks is the only one there that's just like, bro, and I love this part about him. Like, you can tell he has PTSD. Like, he keeps remembering his own timeline, and he's just like, no. So he literally rushes Cell to try and stop him from transforming. But I guess like he
completely
just
yeets Vegeta across the map. Like,
yes, like he just got blown away. I guess like whatever was going on in the transformation, it was too strong. I don't know, but yeah, Trunks is the only Saiyan that I remember that actually did that.
Yeah, that's fair.
What do you call
What's it called? Oh, go ahead, Gabe.
I wanted to say, like, I think it would have been hella cool if instead of what we got for Dragon Ball Super, it was either like an entirely new cast of characters or like just focus on Goten and Kid Trunks or something. Like,
Please don't get me started with them.
because Goten and
Like,
Trunks,
They do nothing. They do nothing.
That's not their fault.
Okay. Let me say this. I like Goten and Trunks, especially when they're first shown, because they're not that bad. They're literally what you would expect out of Saiyan kids born and raised on Earth. It's just like, my thing is, Dragon Ball doesn't know what to do with its cast, and we've seen that with other characters, Gohan, Tien, everybody like that. But when it comes to Goten and Trunks, literal prodigies who are the youngest Saiyans ever, youngest Super Saiyans ever, they genuinely do not know what to do with them so bad that even though they are around 15 or damn near 18 in terms of Super, they still look like they're 7 years old. And I have a giant problem with that. And
doesn't Super take place like a month or like 6 months to a year after Z?
yes, everything within Super is within the 10-year time gap of when Goku beats Kid Buu to when he has to fight Oob in the last tournament of Dragon Ball Z. So technically speaking, everything in Super is within a 10-year gap of Z.
Jesus.
And it's frustrating because at that point in time, it kind of doesn't make sense, and a lot of things are being retconned because Goku already knows about Oob, where before he just had like a idea that he was there. Goten and Trunks are around the same height as Goku, who's like 5'9", and they still look like kids here. Not only that, but there was a moment, a very minor thing. Bulma comes to see Goku and is just like, bro, I haven't seen you in years. What have you been doing? But every fucking problem they have, Bulma is right there at the forefront, except for this Moro arc, I believe. I don't think she showed up to that one. But
No, she didn't show up to that one. And then there's the granola arc that's happening right now.
yeah, but in terms of everything else, she was there for Beerus. She was there for Frieza's revival. She was she there for the Universe 6 and 7 tournament?
I think
Not
they
the
were
tournament of power.
recruiting people.
She was there for the 6 and 7 tournament. Yeah, she was there for that.
Okay. And then she was definitely there for the Trunks arc. She just could not. Well, they kind of needed her, so let me not say that. But but yeah, like she's at the forefront for most of them, so it's kind of just weird. I don't know how long each of those things have happened. I'm gonna go ahead and guess like a year in between each of the arcs. But even at that, we're at like what 5-6 arcs. That only gives Dragon Ball like at least a couple of years for some of that to still happen. But yeah, Goten and Trunks they kind of upset me to the point where I made like a fan theory about like their growth and shit. But it's whatever, because I noticed it with Goku too. But one of the things I was thinking about was like Saiyans only really like grow in terms of like not height, but they in just like age, I guess. They only really grow when under like stress or something. So Dragon Ball
kind of like the invincible effect, where like their Saiyan biology allows them to grow super slowly as they progress, but not that slow.
Because I noticed in Dragon Ball, most of Dragon Ball is from when Goku is like 12 to 18, but you only really see a size difference in him towards the end when he has to fight Piccolo, and I just chucked that up to him
growth spurt.
Going the growth spurt, but also him going under intense training with Kami. At least I think that's where he was training before. Before Piccolo.
It's Kami.
And then I think I want to say the same thing with Gohan and Goten, because they are really fucking small. But yet we watched Gohan, who was also pretty small for a while, but he came out of the hyperbolic time chamber and was like 2 feet taller.
It wasn't Trunks and Goten were stuck in the hyperbolic time chamber for some time.
They were stuck in there. This is why I hate the Buu arc, because it's kind of stupid. Because they tried to retcon the hyperbolic time chamber for 2 seconds.
They do that all the time. At first they said that you can only go in there like once or twice. Now they can just hop in there whenever they feel like it.
Yeah. So the initial rules are you can only last a day in there, which is a full year inside the hyperbolic time chamber. But when they went in there, I think Piccolo was trying to stall for time, so that way they had a couple of more like weeks, days. I don't know how the translation went, but they had a couple of more time. And after that, they fight Buu. He breaks out after Piccolo breaks the door or whatever. Like he bursts out, and Goten and Trunks are stuck in there with Piccolo, and they're screaming at an infinite void just to see if they can get out. They had to have been stuck in there for what was supposed to be a couple of minutes for them. It was only supposed to be like a few seconds for them, really. And outside was supposed to be like a couple of seconds. So right after Majin Buu hopped out, they were supposed to hop out with them. But they flipped it around. So however much time they spent in the hyperbolic time chamber, it was hours outside. which made no sense.
Akira Toriyama is bad. Like the retconning, Akira Toriyama and Kishimoto, they're great in terms of. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say it's bad mostly for Akira because he's for someone who writes literally at the seat of his pants. He's an amazing author. Like for someone who does what he does, he's really good. It's just him keeping up with all of the lore that he's already planted. That's where I think a lot of the things kind of messed up because some fans do just chuck it up like, oh, he forgot, he's forgetful, he said it a couple of times. But I feel like me as a writer, because I'm kind of writing the same way he does, not out of just doing what he does, but just because that feels natural for me. Even if I make something lore wise towards my story, I will write it down. I'm making a note of it to let myself know, hey, this is how this works. Don't go against it. And if I do, I might pull a Kishimoto in that case, kind of like how you were gonna say, where there's gonna be a later explained thing that kind of contradicts what's going on, or it's the only thing that can break that rule. So let's say I have a door. Oh, nobody opens that door whatsoever. Nobody ever goes through that door. It's impossible. Okay, well, there's a key right over there. I'm going through the door. like something like that.
Like
Kishimoto has
unless
done that
like,
plenty times.
Unless there's already an established thing, and that's the thing. It's not so much. I don't think it. Yeah, you can say he's Akira Toriyama's forgetful, and I understand that part. But you can also state the fact that he writes for his convenience. He writes himself into a hole, and then he has to contradict himself to get him out of it.
Yes. Yeah, I can never really deny that. Like, that is something that happens. It happens a lot during the Boo saga. There's not really any retcons or anything weird like that in terms of earlier in the series, like with the Saiyan saga or anything like that.
Yeah, there is.
I mean,
not the Saiyan saga, but when it came to the Cell saga, yeah, because first it's supposed to be.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, when it came to the Cell saga, they're talking about how many Saiyans can exist and so on and so forth, and then now all of a sudden it's S cells. I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
So that's the case. If S cells were really a thing, then everyone on planet Vegeta should have been a Saiyan at that point because they're purebred.
Yep.
Not only that, but like apparently he retconned S cells more to where like good-willed Saiyans have more S cells. That's why not the entire planet was turning into Super Saiyans.
But then that still doesn't make any sense. That's bullshit, which doesn't make any sense. But
because you had Gine, Bardock, and a few others.
Right. And then if you want to go after that, if that's the case, it should be even harder for Gohan, Trunks, Goten to even turn Super Saiyan because they're like what, quarter Super Saiyan?
Gohan's
all of them are.
Yeah, all of them are half. All of them are half. Pan is the one that's like 25.
Pan is the one that's like 25, but she's a quarter.
Yeah. So it should be impossible for her to turn Super Saiyan, which is why I hate the idea of Goku Jr.
I was just gonna say Goku Jr. He's like 170 fit and he can go Super Saiyan.
He can go Super Saiyan.
Because he's
Vegeta Jr. too.
Yeah, him too. Like Vegeta Jr. is the son of Vegeta's daughter. Yeah, Bola has a kid, and that's Vegeta Jr. But
Oh shit!
um,
Wouldn't she be? Wait, no, that don't make sense. Because wouldn't she be the same age as Pan?
no, Bola is actually
Year
older.
young. Wouldn't she be like a?
I don't know how many years.
But
Wait,
remember,
no.
Pan?
No.
Pan was like
Pan
the
is
great-
older.
Yeah, Pan was like the great or great grandmother to Goku Jr.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, she's the grandmother. She's the grandmother.
so wouldn't the same thing apply for Bulma Jun?
Bola wasn't born too long ago.
Yeah.
Bo-
Man.
So that
Bola,
means
Bola is weird. I don't know why, but I do remember that is the actual thing. Like Bola is Vegeta Jr.'s mother.
you sure that's Bulma?
That doesn't
You
make
sure
any
that's not
sense.
like?
Okay, well, also we're factoring in Super and GT and Super don't mix
Very true. Very true.
because you also have to remember that in Super now, Bola was born at the same speed where Pan was born,
hmm
and in Super in GT, it was only Pan. You know, Bola was never a thing.
Right.
There we go.
Wait for
Is it
Super
Bola or
or
is it Brawl?
her name is Bola, but what's it called? Her nickname is Brawl.
Yeah, that's really these names are shit. I just
Yeah,
want to point
this
that out.
this
But
this woman cannot be Bulma because that don't make sense. The time
It says right here in it is Bulma Lier some shit.
Yeah. Yeah, she's
So
the
she
mother.
must be Bola or Bra, whoever the fuck's daughter.
Yeah, she's either Trunks or Bulla's daughter. Because that's the only way that makes sense.
but let me hop off of this because that's my fault. That's our fault. We were trying to apply timelines and logic to Dragon Ball, so we're at fault.
Yeah. We were trying to mix GT and Super, which is
Yeah.
stupid.
So I'm not going to touch that.
That's funny.
Well, I don't
But
know.
yeah, it's ugh.
Story wise, there's a lot more that Dragon Ball can do. That's essentially what we're trying to say.
I agree.
You know what they're doing that I think could be done better is that Dragon Ball Hero stuff based off that card game thing,
Mm-hmm.
or like it's basically a bunch of what if stories.
That's another thing that they could be doing. Yes, you're right. Because there's a lot of what ifs to like a bunch of things. Like we could have gotten a series, like a mini series of Goku if he didn't hit his head, pretty much. Like if he was just if he came down and was just like a badass for whatever reason. Or
I think the most famous one I've seen before, which had nothing to do with heroes, but someone took it upon themselves to make their own manga for Dragon Ball, was the storyline where Vegito didn't unfuse.
yeah, how do y'all feel about that retcon?
Oh my god, another
That was
horrible
so
retcon.
dumb, like only because like they ran out of energy or some shit.
No. It was two different retcons they made for Potara here. The first retcon was it's supposed to last for eternity, but the reason they unfused was because they were inside Majin Buu's stomach and Majin Buu's magic.
Lame.
So that's one. The second retcon happened in Super, where they said, "Oh, it's supposed to last an hour," but the problem now is that because they're mortals, it doesn't last as long. Oh no! Sorry. It was supposed to last forever. It was supposed to last forever, but it's only going to last an hour now because they're mortal.
Yeah, I was gonna say you had it right. So if they were to have been like Supreme Kais or any sort of deity in Dragon Ball, then it would have lasted forever. Which in retrospect, I can kind of understand why the old Kai would say, "Oh, it's forever," because he's, as far as we know, the only person that's ever used the earrings to ever merge like that. And even
But didn't they split? Didn't they split again? They split.
No,
afterwards,
okay.
didn't
No, I'm talking about the old one, like the really old Supreme Kai.
Right, the really old Supreme Kai, he merged with the current
No, the
Kai.
really old one, he merged with the witch, and that's why he looks so old. You're talking about Kibito. Kibito and Supreme
Oh.
Kai merged, and they needed the Dragon Balls to split them back up. That's the only reason why they split up in the first place. What's it called? I was gonna go further, but yeah, the whole hour thing, and then I should have seen that they were gonna use you used too much power, so you split earlier than you were supposed to. Bullshit. I
'cause they
really
pulled the
don't
same
like
shit.
that.
They pulled the same shit in GT.
Oh yeah,
Bro,
like the Gogeta fusion ended like 10 minutes too early.
because
Right, it was supposed to last 30 minutes, but they retconned that and said, "Oh, because they burned through so much energy, it only lasted 10 minutes."
Now we gotta give Goku the spotlight, man. He's the main character. We gotta
and
fix
the
it.
reason why I don't like that kind of logic, because that necessarily means that for one thing, it's not that bad because now they won't really be able to just use fusion whenever. But at the same token, it's just like, well, technically speaking, if they kept training and just kept getting stronger and stronger, who's to say like they would even be able to transform anymore whenever
It would
they
just be
fuse?
they use it in 5 seconds later, it would be gone.
Right? Like you fuse and you only get like a minute because you're that damn strong.
Well,
Like,
now that's just for the Patara. Now they retconned again the fusion dance, saying that you can use it for 30 minutes flat, and you can output as much power as you want to.
Which is so another retcon that they did, which is so funny to me, and I mention it every time we talk about the fusion dance, at least for the Broly movie, because it brings joy to my heart.
It definitely does.
The fusion dance lasts for 30 minutes after you do it successfully. What people don't know is they retconned it to where you can fuse again right after. You could not do that before. And the reason why I know you couldn't do it before is because it was a whole plot point in the Buu saga. Before, you had to wait an hour in order to fuse again. Gotenks was complaining that he did not kill Buu and was rushing him to get out of a crater and told him, look, I only got but a couple of minutes left. Get out here so I can beat you, because after that, I'm going to have to wait in order to get back. I don't know why he specifically told him everything.
It's bad writing.
It is. But he specifically said, hey, like, I got to wait if you want us to scrap again. So Buu specifically planned, because he could sense Gohan galaxies away, and was just like, okay, so I'm gonna wait till they confuse again, absorb him, then beat the shit out of Gohan. And that's just how it was. You had to wait an hour. So to make you guys laugh a little bit longer, for the Broly movie, Frieza was not getting beat for an hour and a half. He was getting beat for 3 long hours.
Jesus.
Yeah, I remember I saw that shit in some YouTube comment thread. I think it was our Instagram. I was like, God damn, he was getting his ass beat for 3 hours.
I just want you to imagine that. Like, at least for the first hour, he's in his final form, and he's like, bro, I can't take this shit. Let me transform so I can at least fight back.
He still couldn't fight back.
He gets beat more for 2. How do you get your ass whooped for 2 straight? Like, for 3 long hours, bro? I couldn't do it. I would have literally begged Broly to kill me. I really couldn't do it.
I don't know. But he really came back like peaks. Like, that was an unmerciful ass whooping. Like, when Gogeta came. Like,
bro.
To this day, that ass whooping doesn't make any sense. Like,
as much as I like the music we got in that movie, I really wish that they got the Gogeta theme from his first movie, bro.
I agree with that. I agree.
I can agree with that. All right, you're talking about the English one, right? Because I don't think he had.
The Bruce
Music.
Falconer.
Yeah, bro. Okay,
That shit was so hard, bro.
It was so hard. It went
this is-
so well.
This is a bit of a hot take, for some fans apparently, but I actually liked when the movies were coming out for Dragon Ball, and they were just randomly playing rock music, bro.
It made it so much more like hardcore.
Bro, I don't know about y'all, but whenever I watch Cooler's Revenge and I fucking hear
Oh,
Drowning
man.
Pool and Cooler's beating the shit out of Goku, I like it does something to me, dog. Like that's
DK, do you remember
And
Broly's original theme? My skin is
yes.
cold.
Bro, that
Yes,
shit, I was just gonna
I
mention
have
that,
it on
bro.
Spotify. I have it on Spotify. It's one of my Havoc Rises inspired playlists, bro. Like because when Broly transforms and I hear that song, I'm just like, whoa, like chill, like actual
Just
chills.
absolute chills happens. Like, oh man.
And there's nothing
Like
wrong
there's a
with
level of
Sumi-
excitement.
Sumitomo makes good music, but it's just like there's something about the Western playlist, like the Falconer and the Drowning Pool, and
Bro.
shit like that.
I don't like
Yeah,
a lot of
Drowning Pool,
Falconer's
Disturbed.
music, but what's it called? He just makes bops for whatever reason.
Those theme
Gohan's
song.
theme, Cell's, Vegeta's
Vegeta's.
Hands
fucking
down.
theme. Hands down, one of his best. I really like Goku's theme. Like it's a very heroic sounding theme, and it just blatantly tells you he's about to win. I really like it. Whenever, I gotta watch the Super Saiyan 3 power up shit just cause like the moment is really hyped to me. Yeah, bro. Like the music in terms of Dragon Ball is very, how should I say it's just good. It's good. There is some misses to me where I'll hear it but I won't care for it. But when it's good, it's damn good.
It's true.
Yeah, no, they have like really good music for that. You know what music gets me like every single time? Like Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan's music it just hits for me.
Okay,
Like, it fits the
I'm
theme.
glad we're talking about that because Attack on Titan might beat Bleach in terms of anime with my favorite soundtracks.
Oh,
And-
man.
And I mean that because Bleach has some really good tracks. But
Mhm.
then I was listening to a couple of